welcome to Nationwide. We're live in Abuja on the network service of the NTA. I'm Hawa Salihu Adama. Thanks for joining us. Today we start from the United States of America, where all eyes are on the presidential election. In the aftermath of the U.S. presidential election, vote counting continues in a handful of key battleground states like Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin, Nevada and Pennsylvania, which will determine the election outcome. The battle is between Democratic candidate Joe Biden and incumbent President Donald Trump. The Trump campaign has launched legal bids to stop vote counting in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia and Michigan, while protesters have taken to the streets in several U.S. cities to demand that counting be allowed to continue. Others have called for counting to stop. Democrat Joe Biden has racked up a record 71.5 million votes and says he will win enough states to become president, but key results remain outstanding. Trump is so far projected to win 23 states, including Texas, Ohio and Florida, having outperformed expectations. Overall turnout is projected to be the highest in 120 years at 66.9%, and more results are still being expected. And as more states' results for the 2020 U.S. presidential election trickle in, projections represent a different ideology of America, a far cry from what it preaches. This was the conclusion of guests on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria, while discussing U.S. presidential election 2020, Ekemini Williams completes the report.
The race to hit 270 electoral college votes to secure the White House still hangs in the balance. There are speculations that there might be a roaring resistance by Republicans in the event of defeat, which political analysts on the program say may represent a referendum on Donald Trump's ideologies and policies, not just in America, but across the globe.
And Trump actually vented their fears and reaffirmed, gave them reassurance that with him there, their interests are protected on immigration, on gun control, on tax cut for big corporations, on stimulating the economy, and even on internal security by presenting a tough guy attitude to security, and also by telling people that, look, with me, you can go out and enjoy your lives as usual. There will be no lockdowns because of COVID. But with Biden, you are going to be locked up at home. And to Americans, that is like imprisonment.
They highlight some of the policies of the two major parties in contest, projecting ways they could make or mar Nigeria's economy, as well as the global democratic system.
That there are institutional barriers in America that are deeply seated and deeply Then there's a very strong religious lobby. And that religious lobby is still very, very conservative. It hasn't quite loosened its grip on society itself. So these are tensions underlying the American society, which is not unique to America. We have it hugely here in Nigeria. We have very strong women who could be president any day in Nigeria, governors and anything. But at the same time, we have a very conservative underlying culture that presumes that is not something to be expected.
Trump has also, according to some people, made an effort to create a form of rapprochement, amiable foreign policy among the Arab countries and Israel. So there are those who actually look at Trump and say, well, Trump is not sponsoring or invading or intervening in other people's countries' affairs like the way that other past presidents do.
The guests are optimistic that at the end of the elections, U.S. will come out stronger and remain one of the leading democracies that other nations look up to. In Abuja, Ekemini Williams, NTA News.
Now, joining us via Zoom to speak on the U.S. election is Dr. Aminu Hayatu of the Department of Political Science, Bayero University, Kano. Good afternoon to you, Doctor. If you can hear me, at the last check, the Electoral College votes indicators put former Vice President Biden at 264, while the incumbent President Donald Trump is on 214, with the states of Pennsylvania and Arizona being closely fought. The margin of victory is looking likely to be very slim. Do you agree with this assertion? Unfortunately, we seem to be having an audio challenge there. We will move on and rejoin Dr. Hayatu later in the course of the bulletin. Meanwhile, in addition to defending the territorial integrity of the country, the armed forces of Nigeria is also faced with containing the unseen enemy, COVID-19. It is, however, not fighting this battle alone, thanks to support from the U.S. Department of Defense. Over now to correspondent Najatu Tijani.
Combat ready, the armed forces of Nigeria continues to evolve strategies to tackle COVID-19, and with the United States as an ally, hopefully the virus will be defeated. These state-of-the-art personal protective gear provided by the United States Department of Defense to selected military medical facilities across the country are expected to keep the infection rate down.
And the COVID-19 hits everyone. It doesn't matter whether you're military or civilian. Everybody needs health support. But we've already had 15 years of partnership, and we intend to continue.
And we know that the use of PPE, which is personal protective equipment, hand washing and social distances are the recommended protocols to reduce the risk of transmission of COVID-19. We had to establish our own emergency operations center to be able to coordinate the affairs of the medical facilities and the military units distributed all over the country.
Preventing the spread of the virus amongst military personnel is critical to national security, as many cases of COVID-19 are being treated in military facilities, and Special Army, Navy and Air Force units are also being deployed to tackle the virus across the country. Najatu Tijani, NTA News.
And still staying with the military, several terrorists have been neutralized while many were arrested with cache of arms and ammunition in the Northeast. Coordinator of Media Operations, Major General John Enenche, said this to newsmen during the weekly media briefing in Abuja. Francis Fong has that.
The armed forces of Nigeria and other security agencies, in their determination to end terrorism, banditry and other forms of crime, have continued their clearance operations against the criminals in some parts of the country, leading to significant successes.
With superior firepower and support from the Air Task Force, troops neutralized 22 insurgents, while several others escaped with various degrees of gunshot wounds. Equally, troops of Operation Fireball in conjunction with local vigilante arrested a Boko Haram terrorist and ISWAP member at Damaturu town in Yobe State. The terrorist was arrested while trying to purchase arms and ammunition.
The Defense Headquarters also reported that the troops of Operation Sahel Sanity engaged bandits in Diskuru village in Malumfashi local government area of Katsina State in a fierce firefight, forcing them to withdraw in disarray. While 3 bandits were neutralized, several others escaped with gunshot wounds. Operation Calm Waters 2 and swift response while on a routine patrol around Utan Iata in Akwa Ibom State intercepted 2 wooden boats laden with 326 of 50 kg bags of foreign parboiled rice suspected to be smuggled in from Cameroon. The arrested items have been handed over to the Nigerian Customs Service for further action. In Abuja, Frank Sisfam, NTA News.
And it is good news for Nigerian Air Force, airmen and women, as the federal government has sent a message of hope to these men and women who work hard to keep all of us safe, as they will soon benefit from an initiative aimed at ensuring comfortable accommodation in their post-service years. Defense correspondent Najatu Tijani completes the report.
The Good tidings are coming the way of airmen and airwomen of the Nigerian Air Force, who constitute the lower cadre of the force. They include technicians, regiment and special forces personnel, among others, as the federal government is introducing a housing initiative to further strengthen their various welfare packages in appreciation of their commitment and hard work.
Excited with this scheme, and we have all our air officers commanding here. They are going back to pass the information, and I believe very soon we'll get something working. About 12,000 houses. It's huge. That's a huge number. So I want to appreciate the Commander-in-Chief, the President Muhammadu Buhari.
His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari's passion for improving the quality of life of people on low income. And the fund's objective is to facilitate about 500,000 homes in the first instance for that sector of our population, but also to create about 1.5 million jobs.
Targeted at those within the low-income bracket, the housing initiative is part of the federal government's social intervention program, with 3,613 homes under construction and financial support for a further 12,520 homes. Good news indeed for the likes of the airmen and airwomen. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
Very well, Najatu, and it's now time for us to link up with our Lagos Network Center, where Michael will guide us on top stories from that zone. Hello.
Hello, Hawa. Also speak all emergency respondents with the assistance of firefighters deployed by Nigerian Ports Authority and NIMASA are struggling to quell the fire outbreak ravaging the O&O tank farm along Gaskia Road, situated at Ijora Badia area of Lagos. Information reaching us indicates that all staff of the tank farm have been evacuated and no life has been reportedly lost. The source of the fire outbreak is yet to be identified. Already, the outbreak has caused a very severe traffic congestion in the axis. Moving forward now, in fulfillment of its promise of bringing succor and relief to victims of recent breakdown of law and order in Lagos State, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has signed an executive order to set up an 8-man board for the Rebuild Lagos Trust Fund at the Lagos State House. Nosa Osula reports.
The primary objective of the board will be rebuilding all damaged facilities, property and infrastructure in Lagos in the aftermath of EndSARS protests. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu reiterated his administration's commitment to finding a peaceful way of rebuilding the state along ethnic lines to attain new heights of development.
We will build stronger partnership. We will have stronger people. We will build stronger institutions and a stronger state.
Governor Sanwo-Olu also explained that 5 additional committees would be set up, such as the Business Continuity Committee, Full Assessment Committee, Security Enforcement Committee, among other committees geared towards rebuilding the state.
Our strength lies in our uncanny ability to overcome the most complicated challenges, because we have a people who genuinely love Lagos State, and we will assiduously do all they can to preserve its peace and unity.
The Rebuild Lagos Board, which has the State Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget, Sam Igube, as a member, will be headed by Yemi Kadoso. In Lagos, Nosa Osula, NTA News.
In spite of efforts to curb human trafficking, the illicit trade has persisted. All hopes are not lost, though, as expressed by stakeholders who insist that collaborating with people at the grassroots is key to stamping out human trafficking in Nigeria. Annie Daniels in this report tells us more.
The issue of human trafficking has gained global attention because of its effects on the victims and society at large. Available statistics from the International Organization for Migration, IOM, reveals that between 2017 and 2020, a total of 19,000 Nigerians who are victims of human trafficking were returned to the country.
The majority of persons who we've assisted to come back to Nigeria are youth between the ages of 18 to 35 years of age.
The advent of COVID-19, respondents say, has posed a greater challenge in the fight against human trafficking because some traffickers are now taking advantage of the situation to deceive and recruit vulnerable youths. To put an end to these acts, collaboration and involvement of both government and private organizations are now being advocated.
So what happens is that when you have a state task force, they carry out the awareness campaigns. They ensure that awareness gets to everybody, the grassroots level, at every single level. So prevention is very key in the work of the state task force, and that is what we seek to achieve.
And even the task force, you see, it's composed of religious groups, composed of traditional institutions, young people.
Observers are optimistic that the training of these stakeholders and members of the state's task forces on human trafficking in Lagos, Oyo and Ogun states wouldn't have come at a better time. It is expected that after this training, participants would have been equipped with the necessary tools needed to assist the federal government in stamping out human trafficking in Nigeria. In Lagos, Annie Daniels, NTA News.
Timeline for some messages. The news continues with Hawa shortly after this break. Please stay tuned.
A scorecard like no other. Government has put in place measures and initiatives principally targeted at youths, women, and the most vulnerable groups in our society. These included broad plan to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in the next 10 years. The creation of 75 billion naira National Youth Investment Fund to provide opportunities for the youths, and the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Survivor Fund, through which government is A. Paying 3-month salaries of the staff of 100,000 micro, small and medium enterprises. B. Paying for the registration of 250,000 businesses at the Corporate Affairs Commission. C. Giving a grant of 30,000 naira to 100,000 artisans and guaranteeing market for the product of traders. These are in addition to many other initiatives such as farmer money, trader money, market money, N-Power, N-Tech, and N-Agro. These and more in spite of a recession and a global pandemic.
Do you know that social media is not good or bad, and that it is you who is using it that is either good or bad? Bad social media users spread rumors and fake news without verification. But good social media users stop, verify the information, and reflect before sharing it. Now, are you a good social media user? Stop the spread of fake news. Verify the authenticity of your source for a better Nigeria.
This message is from the National Orientation Agency. The Council of Our Fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Mr. President said the youth of this country have spoken, and he has heard, and he has since gone to work for the youth of our country, not just as a president, but even as a father of the younger generation.
The real Nigerian youth is a patriot, not a tool of destabilization.
Mr. President made an appeal to the Nigerian youth that this protest, wherever held, should be done in a peaceful manner. The Nigerian youth should be on their guard to make sure that elements that will infiltrate and distract them from the very purpose of their protest should be prevented from doing so.
Listen to the voice of reason.
It's good to have you rejoin us on Nationwide. Contributors at the National Summit on Reforms of Correctional Centers in Nigeria have called for a strategic and holistic approach to the implementation of the reforms. This, they say, is the only way Nigeria can take full benefits of the various reforms already put in place. Femi Okewo has that.
This is not the first time an attempt is being made to reform and decongest correctional centers in Nigeria. But the approach this time, since on the prompting of President Muhammadu Buhari, the National Executive Council constituted the Presidential Committee on the Reforms and Decongestion of Correctional Centers, is to leave behind lasting legacies in the reform and decongestion program. This is why, at the National Summit, to wind up the assignment of the Presidential Committee, stakeholders talked more about what would be inherited from the hard work of the reforms in the last 3 years. From the Minister of Interior, who suggested that custodial centers should become centers of enterprise, to the Justice Minister, who stressed the need for greater synergy among the various ministries and agencies, it was all a forward-looking agenda.
That let us prioritize the issue of human freedom and liberty, such that we use that objective to decongest the custodial facilities in readiness for a new lease of life.
The committee has also succeeded in deepening the reform by policy and implementation through proactive formulation and deployment of FCT sentencing, custodial and non-custodial practice direction 2020, which was intended and designed to enhance correctional centers and services reforms.
And for the chairman of the Presidential Committee, Justice Ishak Bello, a foundation has been laid to reduce the clog in the nation's criminal justice system.
The system is being reformed, and attitude is compelled to change through such reforms. So by that, we are now blocking the very causative factors that bring in congestion in the prison.
The summit will run for 3 days, during which a substantial part of the report, which will be submitted to the president, will be put together. In Abuja, Femi Okewo, NTA News.
And our Maiduguri Network Center is next. Abubakar, it's your turn.
Good afternoon, Hawa. It's really good to see you. Nigerian Military High Command has expressed determination to finally dislodge Boko Haram insurgents and ISWAP from their enclaves following the troops' neutralization of 75 members of the insurgent groups and recovery of large number of arms and ammunition in various operations conducted between 28 September to 31st October 2020. Acting Director, Defense Media Operations, Brigadier General Bernard Onyoko, disclosed this while briefing newsmen at Nigerian Army Special Super Camp 1, Gamdu, Borno State. Here are more details of the story. The Nigerian troops, under the auspices of Operation Fireball, under Operation Lafia Doli, is aimed at clearing and decimating remnants of Boko Haram and ISWAP terrorists from their identified enclaves in the northeast region.
As a result of the aggressive and offensive actions carried out by the troops, several terrorist elements have been neutralized as large number of their equipment were captured, while some were equally destroyed in the process. In this regard, a total of 75 Boko Haram Islamic State of West African Province terrorists were neutralized within this period.
According to the Acting Director, Defense Media Operations, Brigadier General Bernard Onyoko, the operation has been engaged in aggressive clearance operations, ambushes, robust day and night patrols, leading to tremendous success within the short period of its existence.
Within this period, regrettably too, we lost an officer and 2 gallant soldiers who have said earlier paid the supreme price, while 4 other soldiers were wounded in action over the period. However, the wounded soldiers have since been evacuated to military facility where they are responding to treatment. To assure the entire populace of the North-East region of the Nigerian Military High Command determination to finally rout out the remnants of the terrorists from their enclaves in this zone and make this zone once again peaceful.
Brigadier General Bernard commended troops for their resilience, doggedness, and commitment exhibited since the beginning of Operation Fireball, encouraging them not to rest on their oars, but build on the successes recorded so far to ensure peace and security in the region. The increasing number of beggars on the streets of Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, is becoming worrisome to most residents, especially motorists, despite efforts being made by government and individuals to cater for the well-being of the IDPs adequately. Yagum Subukar, in this special report, sought views of residents on the nuisance created by these beggars on major streets within Maiduguri.
It has been a normal practice by some vulnerable members of the society to engage in street begging, all in the name of fetching a means of livelihood for their families. The proliferation of internally displaced persons into the state capital has greatly assisted in the increase in number of beggars roaming the streets of Maiduguri. As some go about major streets begging, others seem to walk from one residential house to the other in search for their daily needs, which, according to them, is the only means to get what to take home. A cross-section of Maiduguri residents condemned the act in totality.
It's a nuisance, and they can be used for anything, both violence, immorality, and every other thing, every other social vice.
Begging is not something that we should encourage.
But no state government, on the other hand, said it is not relenting in its effort at ensuring all the needs of internally displaced persons are well attended to, according to SEMA boss Yaba Okalo.
Governor, before he left, he has invited WFP and few other partners to see how we can feed our population adequately. And he is still expressing a lot of commitment to see that we give economic empowerment.
She further reveals that monthly, about 109 truckloads of food items, in addition to condiments, are distributed, and appealed to the military to expand the parameters of land for farmers to engage in farming activities. In Maiduguri, Yagum Subukar, NTA News.
This is nationwide. Let us at this point return to Hawa in Abuja for its continuation. Hawa, it's back to you now.
Very well, Abubakar. And here in the nation's capital, President Muhammadu Buhari is reassuring the nation's youth that the federal government has heard their loud cries and important steps have been taken towards addressing the genuine concerns. He, however, warned that any attempt at threatening the peace or sabotaging efforts at dealing with the various challenges confronting the country will not be tolerated. The president was speaking at an audience with the National Council of Traditional Rulers of Nigeria, led by the Sultan of Sokoto, Muhammad Saad Abubakar III. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo completes the report.
Indeed glad that we are having this meeting, although not under the best of circumstances.
The meeting, in response to the recent happenings in Nigeria, President Buhari said underscores the indispensability of the royal fathers in maintaining peace and security in the country.
I want to once again thank you for the role you all have played to calm down our youth with wisdom and authority. By instilling hope and keeping the peace, you have rendered the country great service.
Strong, transparent efforts, the president said, are underway towards addressing those he described as rogue elements of the Nigeria police.
The Nigerian police force will also undergo much needed reform that covers welfare, working conditions, and code of conduct that will usher in a more professional workforce. To succeed in all of this, we will require your support and voice to help amplify the message. Your proximity to the people places you in a unique position to communicate and to ensure that our response is targeted and impactful.
President Buhari maintained that there is no hiding place regarding the government's response to the insecurity concerns, youth unemployment, job creation, boosting industrialization, and preparing for a transition into a digital economy. To succeed in all this, he however said the role of the monarchs as guardians of traditional values and culture is most critical, but insists that they must not compromise their neutrality, which confers on them moral authority and legitimacy.
I have asked my chief of staff to travel to various parts of the country and directly engage with you as part of this process. He will be reporting back to me your various perspectives.
The Oni of Ife, on behalf of the Council of Traditional Rulers of Nigeria, presented to President Muhammadu Buhari the outcome of his deliberations on the state of the nation occasioned by the recent NSAS protest in parts of the country.
Hoping that he will consider the proposal we saw put forward, which we believe would help him and his government and all other state governments to tackle the numerous challenges and problems facing our great country.
What is critical for us here as the traditional rulers of their country is to continue to work with government in order to bring peace and stability to their country. We know that you cannot do it alone. We know that you are doing your very best from all strata of government, but we want to tell you and assure you today that we are still much available. Anytime you call on us, any day you call on us, we are ready to serve our nation.
Two foremost traditional rulers representing each of the 6 geopolitical zones of the country attended the meeting. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the emirs of Yauri and Zuru in Kebbi State have tasked Nigerians to imbibe the spirit of patriotism and commitment to nation building for a better and more prosperous nation. The emirs were speaking against the backdrop of the violence that followed the NSAS protest, which they described as unfortunate. Nura Tanko Wakili reports.
The emirs who condemned the violence that followed what started as a peaceful protest said the unity of Nigeria and its peaceful coexistence must be the priority of every responsible Nigerian, irrespective of the occasional inconveniences. They reiterated the need for decorum in pursuing legitimate demands, as governance is a complex business that requires positive disposition from citizens.
We have to love our country. We have to love our country because we have no other country but Nigeria. As I said earlier, Nigeria is blessed with abundant human and natural resources. Therefore, it's up to us to make it comfortable for us, for our children, for our grandchildren.
If you go again, somebody instigates you, then you start vandalizing a lot of property, which you are supposed to use you yourself. Then it doesn't make sense at all. Nobody is happy about that one. The notion is that some people are behind them who want to bring down the government, but God forbid they will not succeed.
The MS also advised politicians to desist from overheating the polity to settle political goals and the youth to channel their energy to what will benefit them and the country. Nura Tanko Akili, NTA News.
And we are not done with Nigeria's productive group, as the youth have been encouraged to join government in the task of rebuilding the nation and the protection of democracy by embracing the virtues of dialogue, dignity of labor, as well as respect for constituted authority. Nigerians in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital, said this while reacting to President Muhammadu Buhari's appeal for the youth to end street protests and violence. Udwak Etim has more.
In the wake of the recent NSAS protest, the federal government has sworn into action as it puts in place measures and initiatives for youth development. President Muhammadu Buhari had recently announced the creation of 75 billion naira National Youth Investment Fund to provide opportunities for the youths. Nigerians in Akwa Ibom State urged youths to respect constituted authority in order to get their demands.
I still believe that the youth can get a lot from this government and that they can get most of their demands met if they cooperate with the government and then obey constituted authority.
I encourage the Nigerian youth to exercise restraint and give Mr. President a little more time to see what will come out of it.
Others are of the opinion that without peace, no meaningful development can be achieved in any society.
Irrespective of who is involved, he should respect the law.
My message to the federal government is that they should implement whatever program, empowerment program that they have come up with for the youth so as to douse tension.
Nigerians are advised to show negative tendencies capable of threatening peace in the country. In Uyo, Uduak Etam, NTA News.
And from Uyo, we go to Port Harcourt, where Gabrielle is on standby with the next set of reports. Hello.
Hello and welcome to Port Harcourt. The kingpins of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, involved in the killing of 6 soldiers and 4 policemen in Oyibo have been arrested by security operatives. The governor made this known when he granted audience to the district governor Rotary Club, District 9141, Virginia Major at Government House, Port Harcourt. Ogedi Nyekwere completes reports.
The imposition of curfew in Oyibo Council area was a measure to prevent the allegedly hijacked EndSARS protest by IPOB from degenerating into inter-ethnic crisis between the Igbo and Hausa communities in the area.
Oyibo people are peaceful people. That does not mean that because they are peaceful, you go and live there. Then you begin to cause problem for them. Who will be happy that part of my own state, somebody will come and put flag, that they now control that area? Even in our own school, IPOB will put flag, trying to change the name of communities. Who will take that? Last night, they got 2 of them and handed over to security agencies.
Rotary District Governor 9141, Virginia Major, extolled the timely intervention of government in bringing peace and stability back after the hijacked EndSARS protest by hoodlums. She said while the world is battling the COVID-19 pandemic, the governor and the federal government do not relent in their efforts to support polio immunization at all levels.
This led to the ultimate certification of Nigeria and by extension Africa as free of the wild polio virus on August 25th, 2020.
The district governor urged the governor to use his good office to support renewed efforts of government, Rotary and all its strategic partners in their quest for sustained surveillance, awareness and immunization to keeping polio at 0. In Port Harcourt, Ogedi Nyekwere, NTA News.
For any nation in the world to be fully developed, its citizens' participation and the scheme of things cannot be overemphasized because it is a prerequisite for good governance. What then are the respective roles and responsibilities of the government and its citizens to enshrinement of good governance? Chidebere Onya has the details of this report.
The recent happenings in the country demand sober reflection to reawaken the conscience of citizens to their collective roles to good governance. Society watchers say, rather than throwing tantrums at the government, a time like this calls for active participation of the citizens to policy making and its implementation processes to entrench developments across every strata of the country.
If one who is a reasonable citizen of the country should know that as a full-fledged adult, you should be taxable. Government say, don't do this, don't do that. You have to obey the rules and regulations.
And as a youth, you should involve yourself in one positive thing. You should find one thing or the other to do that will help you and your family.
People are just like imitating from what the past mistakes of others, and which is not right. So we don't need those things now. What we need is a good governance.
That of active citizenship in the affairs of governance is said to be one of the woes the Nigerian society is experiencing today.
People don't obey laws. There will be a break in communication between the governed and the government. And when that happens, a lot of things come up.
We are the enemies of ourselves in this country, and as I mean, that is why it seems Nigeria is not going forward.
They maintained that societal successes are not achieved by the sole efforts of the constituted authority, but by the collaborative efforts of the governed. In Port Harcourt, Chidiebere Onyia, NTA News.
That's our beat from Port Harcourt. Nationwide continues after this break. Please stay.
The Council of Our Fathers.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experience it will run away from it.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
My name is Nando Jamda Muhammad.
Stevita
Hussein Musa.
Roduna Joel Finji.
Said Musa John. I'm a carpenter. I've been doing this for more than 8 years now.
And I said that plantain. Nakai Kimami Shekara Uku. I've been selling my tomatoes for about 10 years now, and I do it for a better Nigeria.
And I do it for a better Nigeria.
And you can see how we're doing our small little work to make Nigeria great.
As you can see, I'm a technician, and I'm doing it to help myself and to help my generation.
Business.
This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you in your living room, office, everywhere and anywhere. We provide the company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV channel 251, GoTV channel 91, Freeview UK channel 264, or you can download www.visiontv.co.uk. App for iOS or Android, Intelsat 901 degree east. You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTA International, Africa's window to the world.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous. Whether you do it for fun or for political gains, real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
It's still nationwide on the NTA. Moving on, a multi-sectoral approach is what Nigerians need to adopt if the challenges of hunger and poverty are to be surmounted. This is the opinion of the Women of Honor and Great Impact International during a medical outreach and distribution of food items to vulnerable groups in Abuja. Momso Damian Dati completes the report.
It has been widely noted in many quarters that government alone should not be left with the responsibility of catering for the vulnerable and destitute in the society. Individuals, corporate and religious bodies must rise in helping the less privileged. Giving credence to this, the Women of Honor and Great Impact International took a medical and empowerment outreach to Rugan Madaki, a suburb of Abuja, to put a smile on the faces of the vulnerable.
Touching lives, reaching out to the less privileged, raising ambassadors of Christ, women who love God and serve humanity. We gave food palliative to them. We gave clothing because we know that women, widows, we need wrappers, so we clothed them. And children were given educational material.
Women gathered together to impact lives, helping them with foodstuffs, helping them with school fees, covering each other's nakedness, especially in local areas within Abuja here.
By all means, at all costs, the group believe women, especially widows, the elderly, and the indigent must be taken care of.
To get the best out of the women, so that the women can stand on their own, so that they can have a fulfilled life, so that they can become great contributors to the well-being of their family, of the society, of the nation.
It is their belief that everyone should be their brother's keeper. In Abuja, Momso Damian Nati, NTA News.
And our Enugu Network Center is next. Chineye is our guide. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you too, Hawa, and welcome to Enugu. The Enugu State government has promised to support the State Police Command to overcome the physical and psychological effects of the recent crisis that followed the EndSARS protests. Governor Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi gave the assurance when he visited the police community in Enugu to urge the officers to return to their duty posts. Susan Eze has details.
The crisis and destruction orchestrated by individuals who hid under the cloak of the EndSARS protest may have ended, but the government, members of the public, and even security agencies are still counting their losses, condemning the needless loss of lives and property and bodily injuries caused by the mayhem. Governor Ugwuanyi commiserated with the officers and members of the public, describing it as a challenging time for the police force. Noting that the psyche of the officers and men of the police force have been assaulted by the recent events, the governor assured that the government is working hard to mend the broken hearts and urged the police officers to return to their duty posts.
I therefore passionately implore you to fully renew your commitment to the provisions of security of lives and property in the state, as was the case before the protest.
Commissioner of Police CP Ahmad Abdurrahman appreciated the governor's concern over the plight of the police force. The governor met with the officers in a lecture session with the CP to strategize on the way forward. In Enugu, Susan Eze, NTA News.
The Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma has expressed gratitude to President Muhammadu Buhari for his commitment in addressing gully erosion problems in the state. He made this known during an on-the-spot assessment of erosion control sites in Idatonot local government area of the state. Bright Ebutre reports.
The Nigeria Erosion and Watershed Management Project, NEWMAP, is a World Bank-assisted project aimed at addressing gully erosion in the southeast and land degradation in the north. Governor Hope Uzodinma, while inspecting the progress of work so far done by contractors at Iluama, Uruala in Idiato North local government area of Imo State, affirms that the project, when completed, will rescue erosion-prone communities from collapse. Governor Uzodinma further commends the World Bank for the intervention, pledging necessary support by the state government to ensure speedy completion of the project.
Our own is to encourage the contractor to serve us better and also get the contractor to be more committed to the job. And also it's the duty of the government and the supervising consultant to put the necessary checks so that there will be the appropriate balances to go with it. So I think we'll continue to ensure that prudence and proficiency goes in pari passu.
While appreciating the federal government for its role in ensuring the intervention, Governor Uzodinma also expressed the hope that other major erosion sites in the state will receive speedy attention. In Owerri, Bright Ebuchu, NTA News.
And that is our beat from here. Hawa is back to you in Abuja.
Very well, thank you, Chineye. And here in Abuja, the Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism is working to revitalize Nigeria's cultural industrial centers across the country. The minister Lai Mohammed was speaking at the 2021 budget defense session with the Senate Committee on Culture and Tourism. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nko reports.
Some ministers have the oversight of their portfolios spread across 2 parliamentary committees. Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed is one of them. This is his second 2021 budget defense visit to the Senate within 1 week. The first was before the Senate Committee on Information and now the Committee on Culture and Tourism. After giving an overview of the 2020 budget of the culture and tourism sector, the minister explained that out of the 947 million naira capital allocation to the sector, 157 million will be spent on revitalizing existing cultural industrial centers, while special projects on innovative creative industries and collaboration with filmmakers, youth engagement and the fight against piracy will receive 139 million.
To revamp our existing cultural industry centers in Nigeria, we find out that most of our cultural industry centers in the country today are in very poor shape. They need to be revamped. Some of them need to be rebuilt. The collaboration we've had with some of the state governments, many of them have shown lack of capacity. So we intend to bring them back so that we can employ more, restless youth.
The committee commended the minister for his commitment in the fight against COVID-19 pandemic and called for the commercialization of the tourism and culture sector so as to attract more funds from the private sector.
So I thank you very much for your empathy. As the chairman and the deputy chairman has said, this year has not been a particularly good year for the cultural and tourism industry because it has been very badly affected by COVID-19.
The committee also scrutinized the 2021 budget of some agencies under the ministry, the National Troupe of Nigeria, National Institute for Hospitality and Tourism, and the Center for Black and African Arts and Civilization. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nko, NTA News.
The Ogun State government has reiterated its commitment to give adequate support to the Nigerian Television Authority, Abeokuta, to enable the broadcasting house to continue to serve the government and people of the state. The State Commissioner for Information and Strategy said this during a visit to the station.
NUJ National President Wahid Odushile has the demanding job of running the state's information machinery to create proper understanding of policies and programs of the current administration. His visits to NTA Abeokuta to seek a better synergy between the station and the state government not only confirmed the belief that the media remain a partner in progress, but also affirmed the critical position of NTA Abeokuta as a leading and credible platform with useful track record in Ogun State. The state government, he notes, is willing to leverage NTA Abeokuta's local appeal and global network in order to achieve its set mandates.
We'll look into your request and we will advise government accordingly. And one thing I know is that the government of Prince Dapo Abiodun, the governor of Ogun State, is media friendly, and I'm sure we'll find something from within our resources to assist NTA Abeokuta to continue to be on its feet.
While noting that NTA was established to serve the people and government, the general manager of NTA Abeokuta, Fumi Wakama, expressed the readiness of the station to assist the state government deliver on its mandate. She had earlier taken the commissioner on a facility tour of the station at both Ogbe and Okegunya transmission station.
Sports now, more upsets at Handball Premier League in Abuja. Ayodeji Makinde tells us more on Sports Update.
20 Nigerian FIFA referees took part in a one-day physical fitness tests at the training pitch of the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, Abuja, on Thursday as part of preparations for the 2021 season.
We have to conduct the same exercise for the national referees that participate in the league in Nigeria. So the same parameter we use as spelled out by FIFA, and those that makes it will be the ones who use for the league.
The 2020 Prudent Energy Handball Premier League continues in Abuja with Desert Queens losing 16 goals to 31 against Safety Babes and Adorable Queens defeating Kada Queens 29-25 on day 6 on Thursday. Kano Pillars beat Plateau Vipers 34-21, while Rima Strikers lost 28-29 goals to Lagos Seasiders. About 250 tennis players will take part in the week-long 42nd edition of CBN Tennis Open Championship, which serves off Saturday at the tennis court Package B section of the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, featuring action in 6 different categories.
I equally urge them to maximize this awesome opportunity provided by this championship to exhibit their talents with a view to showcasing them at tournaments locally and internationally.
In the meantime, Chief of the Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Yusuf Buratai, says the Nigerian Army will continue to improve on the welfare of its personnel in addition to training and retraining in line with international best practice. Sagir Muhammad Alwal reports that General Buratai stated this in a message to this year's Directorate of Army Physical Training Conference held at the Nigerian Military School, Zaria. The theme for this year's conference was repositioning the Nigerian Army Physical Training Corps through effective training and sports excellence. With Sports Update, Ayodeji, Makinde NTA News.
That's nationwide for today. We apologize for our inability to reconnect with Dr. Aminu Hayatun of the Bayero University Kano as earlier promoted. Thanks for your time. Do stay safe.